This is Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast.
Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast, Wednesday, July 26th today.
I can't believe we are almost through July.
August 1st is Tuesday of next week.
I know.
You wake up Tuesday morning and say, oh, kids go back to school next month. Like, what happened? What happened?
Kind of sad to say that. I don't want to say that yet. They haven't gotten on my nerves enough yet.
Have they not?
They really haven't.
They don't, but they're
haven't.
They're a great age. Are they becoming more self-sufficient? Are you noticing that this summer?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
How much responsibility do you put on them to look after themselves? Like feed themselves?
Not enough as I should, honestly.
Almost coughed there. Sorry.
That's okay.
There we go.
Excuse me. No, I should, I guess maybe. But there's that part of me, and I've really noticed it in the last little while, because Nathan is taller than I am now.
Oh.
And I think that kind of hit it home. They're getting old, they're getting older. They're 12 and 10. So, yes, there's that. I have two voices in my head. The one that says, okay, they're old enough they can do A, B, C, and D. Mm-hmm. And they should be doing A, B, C, and D. And then there's the other side of me that's like, they're not going to let me do things for them much longer, so I'm going to keep doing them.
Oh, well, you can.
Yes. I still want to be the one who fixes them lunch. I still want to be the one who's doing their, well, not all the time, but their laundry. I'm still the one who wants to be, I want to be involved.
Right.
So as long as they're not at the point yet where they're totally shutting me out.
Because that's coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they can't go anywhere unless I drive them. They're still relying on me for that. So I'm kind of taking it as long as I can.
That's why you live far out of civilization.
Exactly.
That's
I have to drive them places. I have to arrange things. So they probably would be more self-efficient if I'd let them.
It's coming in toward the halfway point of summer, so that's where we are.
I know. Nathan did start making his own lunches last year at school.
Okay.
So that'll be starting
here. That will continue?
Yes, that will continue, yes.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Good.
And it was funny because, again, along the same lines, Ben wanted to do it, and I think it lasted 2 days.
Okay, because he was just bad at it, or it was too much work?
Both.
Yeah.
He's like, no, Mom, if you want to, you can still do it.
Yeah, if I want to.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for letting me continue to make your lunch.
How magnanimous of you.
I know. But anyway, sorry. So to answer your question in a very long-winded way, they're fine.
They're fine.
They're good. It's been a good summer. It's been a great nice summer so far. Yeah.
You know, one of our highlights late in the spring, we broadcast out at the Belleville Police Services building at College.
Absolutely
in
a highlight.
And Mike Callaghan, police chief, was great. He came in here. We got talking about stuff that he did in his career, which he loved. And
very interesting.
One of the most important projects that they're working on right now, of course, involves something that's, top of mind.
I think it's fair to say, though, we were kind of unaware of it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's human trafficking.
Yeah.
And not just simply as an issue, which it is.
It is, certainly.
But this belief that it happens somewhere else, right? First of all, it happens in other countries. That's what I mean
about being unaware of it. You kind of hear it, but from a distance in the news. I don't think, and not to group you in, but I don't think we realized how much it's happening here.
It's prevalent.
Yeah.
And the role that the 401 plays in human trafficking in Ontario, and where we sit halfway between Ottawa, Montreal area and Toronto. And so he really caught us up. I want you to really pay attention to this, because mums and dads, he's got some incredibly important things to say about how you communicate with your children to make them less likely that they could ever become victimized by this. Police Chief of Belleville, the great Mike Callaghan. Is this the most untalked about major epidemic? Because we always hear about the war on drugs, and we hear about, cyber crimes and the like. Human trafficking, nobody wants to talk about it.
You're absolutely right, Mark, and I believe that it's kind of society's dirty little secret that nobody wants to talk about. people are aware that human trafficking goes on, but they're also not wanting to talk about it because they don't want to believe that it's happening in their
It
backyard.
doesn't happen here.
It doesn't happen here.
It doesn't happen in my
Yeah.
neighborhood.
It only happens in
the big
South
cities.
America.
Or
Yeah. Right.
Or
Doesn't happen
America.
here.
It doesn't
Yeah.
happen here.
That's exactly the point.
Yeah.
And we want to raise public awareness about it because we believe that just because of our geographical location between two major cities in Ottawa and Toronto, and being right smack dab on the 401, we are a prime target for, and if you think about it, you think about the 401 corridor and you think about how many hotels we have within 3 minutes of the 401. There's a lot. And we know for a fact, and one of our officers has done an unbelievable job in identifying some of the human trafficking elements and worked on a case that was just unbelievable, and the work that he had done and the passion is fantastic. But we know it's happening a lot more than people want to talk about. It's something that we have to truly raise public awareness about, because we as a police service cannot be everywhere all at once, and we need our community to report suspicious activity that they may believe that someone is being human trafficked. And there's two main principles of the human trafficking. One is the sexual side of the human trafficking, and the other one is with respect to the migrant workers. And two big concerns that we have to address, something that is so critical. And when you hear individuals speak who have been trafficked, the stories are, it's not something that you would think about from a third world country. It's something that's happening in Canada.
Yeah.
It's something that's happening in our community. And for us to turn a blind eye to it would be just incredibly negligent. And you'll often hear me talk about wanting to make Belleville the safest community in Ontario. Well, sadly, we have to identify that, yes, it is happening in our city. Yes, we need to know about it. Yes, we're doing investigations. Yes, we're applying for grants, provincial grants, for funding opportunities to increase the number of officers or equipment that we're using to detect the human trafficking. And we need to get that message out that it's happening, folks. We need to get that message out that we need to talk about it, and we need to raise that public awareness through education.
So what should the public be doing then? What should they be watching for? What should they be reporting? What can they do?
If they see something, and there's an old saying about our sixth sense, and we just don't, as adults, we don't tend to use it. If you have a gut feeling that something isn't right with a male or a female and another male, and something just doesn't feel right, or feels uncomfortable, or you feel that person may be there against their will, please make that call and notify us so that we can look into it.
Call you.
Call the police. Because if we don't know, we can't do anything about it. The other thing is there's such a significant grooming process for the victim of human trafficking that person is befriended, and then they're gradually forced into the human trafficking. And the message that I want to give to parents is, please don't give up on your kids. If your kids are young people are having challenges and having troubles, please continue to talk to them. Please try to get the help and support through the various social agencies, but don't give up on your kids. And I used to talk, when I coached competitive hockey, I used to say to our kids all the time on the teams, the biggest important lesson that I'm going to teach you is two things. One is that you're going to learn to win and lose with dignity. And the second one is never give up. I don't want you to ever give up on your friends. I don't ever want you to give up on family. I don't ever want you to give up on school. The things that are really important in life, don't give up on them. And the same message to your parents. Yes, it's going to be an incredible challenge, but we owe it to the next generation to ensure that we're doing everything we can to possibly support them. And it's a huge challenge out there today. I believe that as well, one of the biggest challenges that we have in society right now is the word accountability. And the less and less accountability we have, the greater the social problems that we're going to have as well.
Okay, and then behind the scenes then, so how organizes the human trafficking process that it makes it that much more difficult for the police to be able to infiltrate it, to prevent it, to slow it down, to break it?
The big challenge for policing is that from the initial stages of being groomed, we are not seeing it.
Right.
And, you can't be in a position to make an accusation against someone for befriending someone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that psychological impact in behind there that they're paying attention to this person, whether it be male or female. They're buying that person things. They're giving them that attention that person is not getting in their life. And it makes me think of a program that I was involved in many, many years ago. It was an intervention and diversion program for youth. And we had a bunch of professors from Carleton University that assist us in developing a screening tool to identify what that young person was missing in their life. And then we would take and put mechanisms in place and support mechanisms to help that person to identify, number one, what it was that they were missing, but number two, to backfill that. That, to me, is the key to preventing people from getting involved in either criminal activity and or human trafficking. And some of the telltale signs, obviously, is a complete change in behavior, a complete change in the way they dress, a complete change in attitudes, a disregard for their set of friends that they may have had, obviously apparent drug use, alcohol abuse, and just please continue those conversations. Mm-hmm. They're so vitally important.
Mm-hmm. Because I think when I hear human trafficking, I think then they're taken to another country and never see them again. That's not the case. They're just taken somewhere else along the 401, used and abused until they don't need them. And then what, returned, set free? Maybe not. I mean, everything that goes with it, right? That's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
And they're snatching them in our own community, or they're bringing them here from other communities. Like, we're all a part of it. It's all part of the chain.
It is. It's all part of the chain. It's a very, very closed net circuit of individuals who are propagating this human trafficking, and they are very, very crafty at their skill. Mm-hmm. Very crafty. And we know for a fact that it's not a socioeconomic status that influences a person to be influenced by these people. It could be
it could happen
middle
to
class.
anybody.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. It could happen to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the biggest challenges that we face. We need to ensure that we're having dialogue with our hotels as well and the hotel owners. I was just speaking with a hotel chain about 2 weeks ago about this issue, and we send some officers out to educate the hotel owners on signs to look for. One of the big things is if the person doesn't have any identification to rent a room and wants to pay cash. There's a
red flag.
Red flag. Hold on here, folks. What's going on?
Yeah.
And what's really nice with Belleville is because we're such a close-knit community, there is a lot of interest from the hotel owner saying, help me, educate me, let me know what it is I need to know.
What am I looking for?
Right.
Yeah.
What am I looking for?
What can I keep an eye out?
Yeah.
And I would think, too, there'd be communication with communities along the 401. Like, it wouldn't just be you working. You'd be working with maybe Kingston or closer to Toronto, right across the corridor.
Absolutely. The interagency cooperation and collaboration is vital for these types of things. And, we also have our internet child exploitation, so the ICE unit that looks into that whole dark web side of things and trying to identify individuals who are luring children as well. Mm-hmm. And that's a big piece of it. And there's just so much work out there in the world of internet child exploitation that we could likely have 10 times the amount of people that we currently have working on it and still not being able to scratch the surface of it.
Terrible. So this all coincides with a program that you're starting through the media. And again, what is the message that you're hoping that everybody will gain from it?
It's a public education awareness program. We're going to be having a series of identifiers, what to look for, how to go about making the call to the police, and it's an education component as well, as I had previously mentioned, for the hotel owners, because they're going to be a very invaluable resource for us to be able to identify these individuals. And it's something that is just, it's prolific.
Yeah, because I know if I thought I saw something, it would take a pretty stiff nerve for me to say, well, maybe I will call the police, because I would, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be, but...
That's kind of what I meant by what can the community do?
Yeah.
And you're right. If the gut feeling is telling you something doesn't seem right here. But you're right too, Mark, because there is that hesitation of, well, I don't know what's going on here. So do I call the police over this, or do I...
But that's all the more reason to call.
Yeah, so,
let us determine if there's anything to it or not.
Exactly.
And if there isn't, you know what? Thank you for your time. Thank you for being conscientious.
We didn't bother you.
No.
We didn't pull you from something else.
No, it's not a bother. And at the end of the day, how good would you feel as a member of the community if you picked up the phone and made that phone call, and we were able to identify somebody who is prolifically running people for the purposes of human trafficking, and you made the call that made the difference in that person's life? That's pretty rewarding. And at the end of the day, I say this all the time, we have something very, very sacred here in the Quinte region, and we don't have the crime levels of big cities. We don't. We don't want that here. And it's up to every single one of us. We can't do this alone as a policing organization. We need the public support. And making that call and making the right call is critically important for us to keep the way of life that we have and make our city better.
And as much as you want our support, by us supporting you, you then turn it around and you will support us. You will be there. You'll take the phone call and be like, we'll check it out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Let us check it out. Because you got to think about this on the other side of the coin. When 95, 97% of our officers have children of their own. And as a police officer, when you hear about these calls, it's something that you become emotionally attached to. And it's something that you go the extra mile for, because you don't ever want this to happen to anybody. So you need to make that call, folks. You really do. Make that call to us and let us determine if there's anything to it or not. And if there isn't, that's great. Perfect. But if there is, let's do something about it.
We wish you all the best with the program, and thank you so much for coming in and all your efforts. We thank you very much.
Thank you both very much.
So you say that he says something in there that you've kept in your head?
Yeah, he says,
how we put it?
Don't stop trying. Like, don't, as parents, and I don't think parents necessarily give up on their kids.
They don't.
But don't stop getting in their face. Don't stop asking the questions. Don't stop talking to them. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what I said at the beginning of the podcast. I don't think I'm a helicopter parent, but that connection with my kids is so important to me. I don't want to not be involved. I don't want to not talk to them, or I want to be involved with them. I want to do things with them. I want to, and not for the reasons my police chief Callaghan's talking about. But I can't say that that's not in the back of my mind too.
Yeah.
Like you get frustrated with your kids, and you may both walk away from each other, but walk back to each other too. Like, always come back. Always be like, okay.
Sometimes the hardest part is to follow them.
Exactly.
Like, I can't let them walk away. I got to emotionally, communication-wise,
you got to give each other space,
and then you got to be the one to go back.
But then you have to.
Got to go.
You can't ignore them. You can't let it sit there. You can't let them stew, or yourself. Because as he points out, there could be more going on. There could be something going on you have no idea about. And that's scary. Yeah. Oh, my God, that's scary.
You don't want them going to somebody else to talk to, because they feel like they can't talk to you, because that person does not have their best interest at heart.
No, and that's what that person is trying to do. He's trying to create that wedge. So don't let that wedge get there. Be the parent, as I'd say to myself, like, you are the parent. You're the bigger person. You're the adult.
Yeah.
So no matter how many buttons they push or how aggravating they can get, it is up to you ultimately to be like, okay, we gotta talk about this.
So the all important, of course, is if you fear anything, again, whether it's your children, God, I hope that never happens, or their friends, like people within your sphere, friends, children's that you fear, you're seeing things. And it's not that your friends aren't good parents, it's you're hearing things about like somebody's come in and, gee, a couple of my kids' friends seem to know somebody and it's weird, contact the police.
There's a reason why that knot in your stomach may be forming.
Yeah.
Or you kind of stop, be like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right.
Exactly.
Or that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Or something's just not right about this situation. Follow it. Listen to it.
They've got the resources. Contact them. Tell them why you fear it, and let them handle it. Doesn't mean they're going to swoop in with a SWAT team. They'll just. It's important to get that communication
As he
out
said,
there.
better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, absolutely.
Like, what if you don't say something?
Yeah, for
or
sure.
do something.
Absolutely. So contact them. So everybody, thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and keeps you aware. That's what we want to do.
100%.
Keeps you aware. Coming up tomorrow, we've got our Aerosmith song for Throwback Thursday. T-Mark, Dream On. Team Charity's Crying. Which one do you want to hear? Get on Facebook. We may break a record for the most number of votes we've ever had on Throwback Thursday.
Oh, I hope so.
That would be so good.
That would be
If the reaction to trying to win the tickets for our Summer of Fun Adventure Series number 2 is any indication, we love Aerosmith around here. Everybody does. You could tell by the number of veils on the mic stand. How many scarves has the man got? Oh, my gosh.
Well, at the time of the recording of this podcast, we've already surpassed votes from the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Throwback. So we've kind of pulled up our socks and gotten back, got our focus back.
Still kind of early morning, everybody. We're back online. We got it. We got to figure it out. Let's get your votes in. That's coming up tomorrow morning. Jimmy Hollywood's going to talk about Disney's latest, The Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, love the ride. So I'm interested to hear what the movie's like.
You know, Eddie Murphy did that movie years ago. Yeah, okay, right?
No.
So they thought, I think they have to save the ride. So that's what I got thinking. They got to find a way to cleanse the palate. So if they're going to do
bring it back.
redos, let's do a proper redo. But is it good enough? We'll find out from Jimmy Hollywood and tons more tomorrow when you wake up with Mark and Charity Mornings here on 95.5 Hits FM.